Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob, and today we're jumping into another new subreddit for KCC, Stories About Kevin. Our first story today comes to us from Strongbad Jr. Kevin violates parole. Let's jump right in. A few years ago, I was a driver trainer for a large trucking company. Basically, my job was to take newly minted truck drivers and teach them how to handle themselves in the real world. Sometimes it was easy, other times it was like teaching a fish to play tennis. One of my students, the Kevin of the story, was so dense he made a lead brick seem like a feather pillow. Not because of his driving, but because he almost got himself and me arrested. Here's the story. Kevin was on my truck for about 3 weeks. He wasn't the worst student I had, another Kevin has that honor, but he was far from the best. At week 2, we end up stuck in Salt Lake City, Utah after delivering a load. It was a slow time of year and SLC had always been a sparse area for outgoing loads, so I expected to have to wait to leave out. Not a big deal, I needed the downtime. Kevin, from out of nowhere, started to seem anxious about something. When I ask him why he's so tense, he tells me he needs to get his license changed to his home state. He lived in Louisiana, but his license was from Iowa. The company used a loophole in Iowa state law, granting temporary residency to students to get them a license. After the license was issued, they had 30 days to get it switched to their home state. Not a major issue since management knew the drill and would get us to students' home state in plenty of time. "Dude," Kevin asked, "when can we go to Louisiana? I need to get my license changed." He then asked this every day for a week, but it wasn't until we were stuck in SLC that it really seemed to bug him. "Look, I've told dispatch you need to get home. They'll work it out, just relax." He didn't. After 3 days, we finally get to leave SLC bound for Chicago. It takes a few days, and the entire trip, I can tell he's getting more and more nervous. Eventually, he can't talk about anything else except how he needs to get home. He was getting pretty annoying. We make our delivery in Chicago and get another going to Laredo, Texas. Normally, we would have gone through Houston, Texas, but this happened during the massive floods, and I knew going that way would be a bad idea. Fortunately, I found a way that would avoid the flooding and get Kevin to his hometown. Better still, we would have enough time for him to get a ride to the DMV, get his license changed, and still make delivery in plenty of time. Win, win, win. And Kevin finally seemed relieved. We get to Kevin's hometown on a Sunday afternoon. As he gets ready to leave, I tell him, first thing in the morning, you get your butt to the DMV, get your license taken care of, and get back here pronto so we can get going. He says okay and leaves with his girlfriend while I enjoy some time to myself. The next morning, I give Kevin until 10 a.m. before I start getting impatient. I texted him asking where he was and got no reply. I text again, no answer. I call, no answer. I tell dispatch, who's asking me when we'll get moving, that Kevin has disappeared. He was supposed to get his license changed over, but I haven't heard from him all day. Dispatch tries to call him and they don't have any better luck. Apparently, Kevin has disappeared. By late afternoon, I start getting the feeling this little crap has bailed on me and wasted my time. This was a common occurrence for new drivers. I tell dispatch that I'll give him until the morning to reach out. If he doesn't, I'll continue on to Laredo on my own. There was still plenty of time and dispatch agreed. Morning came, Kevin was still AWOL and I was out of patience. I send him one more text telling him I'm leaving without him and head out. I drive for several hours before taking a mandatory break and check my messages. To my surprise, Kevin reached out. "Hey man, my PO found out I took a driving job and was pissed that I left Louisiana. She told me to get back as soon as possible or she would have me listed as a fugitive. I called her yesterday, Monday, but she's out of town and told me to wait till she gets back on Wednesday." I'm completely shocked. PO? As in parole officer? "Kevin, are you telling me you're on parole and leaving the state without permission?" "Yeah, I was in jail for selling dope. I got parole for 2 years. I didn't think it'd be a big deal since I was working." "Dude, you violated your parole. You'll be lucky if you don't end up back in jail." "Well, my PO said she wants to talk about it Wednesday." "Yeah, I'd imagine so. You better get in touch with dispatch and let them know so they can work something out." I end the conversation and continue on to Laredo. I deliver the load and pick up another headed to Atlanta, Georgia. Thursday, I call Kevin to find out what the deal was. He tells me that his PO gave him the okay to keep working. I assume you have some kind of official document that says that, I tell him. No, she didn't give me one. Then you better get one, because there is no way in hell I'm leaving the state with you unless I have something from the state saying it's okay. Why? Because, dumbbutt, if I carry you across state lines knowing you're violating parole, that makes me an accessory to a felony. I'm not going to jail for your stupidity. Oh, okay, I'll ask her. I tell Kevin when and where to meet me. I tell him that if he disappears again, I'm not coming back to get him. He says he understands. I get to the location when I said I would, and he's nowhere to be seen. I text, no answer. By this point, my patience for this clown is completely gone. I tell dispatch I don't trust this guy's word and I'm not taking a chance on him lying to me. I leave out again and head for Atlanta. Kevin does reach out 6 hours later and wants to know if I'll come back for him. I tell him that he has lied 3 times and acted so shady that I can't trust him to do the right thing. If he wants to finish his training, he can sort something out with management, but there's not a chance in hell that he will see me again. Fast forward a few months, I find out from dispatch that Kevin's PO had not given him permission to leave the state again. Apparently, I made the right call by leaving him there. Fortunately, they weren't interested in prosecuting me. I have no idea what happened to Kevin, but I imagine he did something else that was stupid and landed back in prison. As for me, I took a break from training after the whole debacle. This Kevin wasn't the only one I had during my time as a trainer, and he definitely wasn't the worst, but for dragging me into his parole violation, he is firmly in the top 10. OP mentioned in the comment section down below that the company does do background checks, but it would take 4 to 6 weeks for them to come back, which is pretty bad. Now, if OP almost ending up behind bars didn't even make it into the top 3 and only the top 10, I kinda want to hear more stories from them. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Chelsea Elric. 4 deliveries versus 1 Kevin. Let's jump right in. This just happened a few hours ago. This coworker, not Kevin 1 or 2, who I also work with and have posted about, is a night and closing driver I've worked with for a few months now. He's a really nice guy and a genuinely hard worker, but he just makes really dumb decisions and mistakes. When he was first hired, these instances were much more frequent, to the point that almost every night my manager considered sending him home. However, over the past 2 months, he's been doing really well, has only been making the occasional small, understandable mistake, and had been becoming much more social. Which is great, cause like I said, he's really nice but very quiet, and a bit flat when speaking, but tells surprisingly funny jokes. Last night though, he made so many big back-to-back mistakes that my manager was literally banging his head against the counter and threatening to send him home like those first few weeks. So, Kevin was out on a 4-stop delivery because we only had him and myself as a flex, someone who makes pizzas and can drive, along with our manager. We try not to send me out until all drivers are out on long delivery times or only one driver is left, in case huge orders come in that need to be made and my manager is busy managing. Eventually, sometime after Kevin left, a single delivery came through and I left to deliver it. I came back to the store, waiting for my next delivery and talking with my manager when I saw Kevin slink in quietly, grab a soda, and dash out the door again. I completely understood because sometimes you don't read the receipt correctly before delivering and need to come back for something. Here's where the confusion started to set in. My manager gave me a weird look because he hadn't seen who'd come in, only the door opening and closing. I explained it was just Kevin who must have forgotten a soda. Whenever there's an order error, my manager pulls up all orders to pinpoint which it was and make sure it was corrected. He noted the address and smacked his forehead with his hand because the house had been far away from our store, but right across the street from an open gas station. Sometimes, employees will get the missing drink from the gas station and tell the manager later to be compensated. It saves on delivery time. I agreed that that was a bit silly, but thought it was fine because he'd most likely already delivered all of his other orders. Over 60 minutes had passed, and each delivery takes about 15 minutes, right? Wrong. Right after we finish checking the order, the phone rings. It's customer number 4 on the stop list, wondering where their order is. I apologize and explain about the short staffing on a Friday, reassuring he's on his way. I tell my boss and he starts yelling about what could be taking Kevin so long. Then the phone rings again. It's customer number 2 on the list. They say that they hadn't gotten their order yet either. My manager and I are standing around scratching our heads at what Kevin could possibly be doing for over an hour with 3 of his deliveries, if you count the missing drink not finished. I even commented to my manager that Kevin could have asked me to take 1 or 2 of his remaining deliveries since he saw me standing there waiting for my single order to be completed when he grabbed the drink. Then the phone rings again. It's customer number 1 with the missing soda. They say they'd like to cancel their order altogether. My manager apologizes, pulls up his order in the system, and asks why. He says that Kevin rang the doorbell even though the delivery instructions said to call because his wife was sleeping for work. Then, as Kevin was about to hand him his food, customer number 1 asks where his drink is. Kevin then brings the food back to the car with him to check and returns without the food, saying he can go back to the store, but that it might take a while. Which, again, he could have just stopped at a nearby gas station instead of wasting a 15-minute drive here and a 15-minute drive back. I'm not sure what the fallout was since I had to leave to complete that delivery I'd been waiting for, but my manager was banging his head against the counter when I left, threatening to fire him, and when I returned, everyone was quiet while they cleaned for closing. I really do like Kevin as a person, but sometimes I wonder how he's made it this far. OP added a quick edit onto the story at the end. It says, "Unsurprisingly, nothing in the way of reprimand happened. I asked my manager what ended up happening when I left, and he just said he talked to him. I also haven't had a chance yet to ask Kevin where exactly he was and what he was doing for over an hour. Everything is back to normal, and we actually called him in because we were short on drivers tonight, the day after this was posted. Even if my manager had actually wanted to fire him, we're so short-staffed right now that firing anyone is impossible. But mess-ups like this have become rare for Kevin, so I didn't actually think he'd get in real trouble." It sounds like Kevin at the least needs to be better supervised, and it might actually just be time to let him go. On the other hand, the comments about getting the drink from the gas station across the road, well, if Kevin wasn't communicated this in the first place, was it something he really knew he was supposed to do? I mean, in my case, if they didn't explicitly tell me, hey, you can go buy this somewhere else and just let us know, then I probably would have done the same thing and driven all the way back. But that's just me. What do you guys think? I'd love to see your comments down below. Our next story today comes to us from Fulo Fiomelanin. Kevin thinks that housebroken means doesn't pee indoors no matter what. Let's jump right in. My fiance and I were planning a weekish long vacation, and we needed someone to watch our dog. We asked our buddy Kevin because our dog really likes him and she's not inclined to like many other people. Our dog is a 6-pound Chihuahua who likes to sleep under blankets on the couch, so aside from feeding her and taking her out, she's not particularly high maintenance. My fiance gave him the rundown and he expressed concerns about our dog's level of house training because he seems to be under the impression that small dogs are impossible to housebreak. We assured him that she knows how to go outside and will do so as long as he lets her out. The day after we dropped our dog off, we got a text message from Kevin informing us that our dog was in fact not housebroken because she had peed on his carpet while he was at work. We asked when the last time he let her out was, and he replied that he hadn't let her out since we dropped her off the day before. Fiance got annoyed and told Kevin that yes, she is housebroken, but she has to be given the opportunity to do her business outside. She cannot open the door herself, so someone has to let her out. If she's not let out, then she'll relieve herself when she physically cannot hold it anymore. Kevin replied that housebroken means housebroken, and she shouldn't be relieving herself indoors under any circumstances whatsoever. For the rest of the week, we got at least one text a day informing us of how our dog soiled his carpet yet again. My fiance told him the same thing each time. Take her outside. His response was some variation of the same stupid logic he had spewed before. When we arrived at Kevin's house to pick up our dog, the second we walked through the door, he shoved some cleaning spray and a scrub brush into my fiance's hands. He said, "Your untrained dog made this mess, so you clean it up." Kevin had apparently spent the whole week covering up our dog's messes with a paper towel, expecting us to clean it up when we returned. My fiance was livid. She threw the spray and brush at him, yelled back, "You didn't let my dog out for a week, you clean it up." She picked up our dog and stormed to the car. I stuck around just long enough to gather the dog supplies we left for him. We've hardly spoken to him since, and he certainly won't be watching our dog again. OP provided some dog tags on the post, so here's the little chihuahua. As long as Kevin isn't allowed to watch the dog again, then I don't think there will be a problem. In fact, I wouldn't give Kevin anything that involves a little bit of responsibility. Check out all 3 OPs at the links in the description down below. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.